Alright, this is the last of 4 videos on transforming the sine and cosine function. In this one, I'm going to look at what b does to the graph. It affects the period. Okay, I'm doing this in this order because I've kind of done them in the order of difficulty. A and D are fairly easy to find. C is a little bit more challenging sometimes. And B is of all 4 of them, is the most difficult. So I want to make sure that you can do these easy parts first, find those answers, and then maybe focus a little bit on B and make sure that you understand what B is. All right? B, it's on the inside of the function and it's a multiplication factor. So from graph transformations, that has the effect of if you multiply, you shrink the graph. If you divide, you stretch the graph. So it stretches or shrinks the graph horizontally. So the thing I want you to make sure you understand from this, b, this value, is not the period of the function, but it is used to find the period. It is not the period. Many students will write down b. When I ask for the period of the function, they'll write down b, just off without thinking about it. But I want to make sure that's not clear. This is clear. b is not the period of the function. But it is used to find the period, and I'm going to show how to find the period here shortly. Okay, on this I've graphed, the blue line is the sine function. Notice its period is 2 pi radians. I've graphed on here the sine 2 theta. And what that does is that has the effect of shrinking it horizontally. So instead of going all the way out to 2 pi, it shrunk it in half. So now its period is pi radians. So it completes, another way you can think about it is that it completes 2 cycles in one cycle of the real graph. So 2 is the number of cycles that it goes through in the normal sinusoid. Okay? So multiplying by 2 has the effect of shrinking the graph. If I divided by 2, that would stretch it out. That means the period would go twice as long. So if I divided it by 2, it would go through half of a cycle in 2 pi radians. Okay? The period of y equals 2 sine theta is pi. The period can be found by finding 2 pi divided by b, the absolute value of b. So it's 2 pi over 2. So the period of the red graph is pi. These are a couple of formulas to help to make sure you remember how to find how the period and b are related to each other. The period is equal to 2 pi radians, divided by b. Or, if you're in degrees, it's 360 degrees divided by the absolute value of b. Period has to be a positive number, so it's a positive measure. So we divide by the absolute value of b. Since the period is positive, b is, I don't need the absolute values on this, the period b is equal to 2 pi divided by the period. So if I have the period, or if I have b, I can find the period by dividing 2 pi divided by the b, or 360 divided by b. If I know the period and I'm trying to find b to put it back into the equation, b is equal to 2 pi over the period, or 360 over the period, if you're in degrees or radians. So there's two different formulas there. For example, here, looking at this graph, I've just sketched it out. The graph is, the period of this graph, going through one cycle, is pi over 4 radians. So the period is pi over 4. That means b, the value that would go into the function, is 2 pi divided by pi over 4. So I multiply by the reciprocal of that, 2 pi times 4 over pi, that's equal to 8. So this function is y equals sine 8 theta. This 8 means it would complete 8 cycles in 2 pi radians. Cosine graph. Okay, this is the cosine because it starts at the peak and goes down and then back up and finishes at the peak again. So this is the cosine graph. Its period is 5 units, 5 radians. Okay? So the period is equal to 5. That means b is equal to 2 pi over 5. Okay? So my function would be y is equal to 2 cosine 2 pi over 5 times theta.